Okay, kids. I know you can't see me, but I've got the camera positioned a different way. It's Mrs. Janney, and we're going to talk today about how to draw some pumpkins. And you'll see why I have to position this camera this way in just a moment. So here I am. Hello. First, we're going to start with teaching you how to draw a pumpkin. So we're going to practice this first before we get our black paper we're going to do the project on. So I start with the middle of the pumpkin. Actually, I need to flip this over. This is poster board. I need the flat side, not the shiny. Okay. So, to draw a pumpkin, I always start with a long, tall letter O in the middle. Okay. Now, on the right side, think of making a capital letter D. Okay? But I'm going to curve it up. Now down here, I'm not going to come all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to connect it just slightly above where that is. I'm going to add another one. So see how this is slightly above that. This is slightly above. It's starting to go at an angle this way. Now think of making the capital letter C. Do the same thing. Okay, see how it's starting to curve up here because I'm coming up just a little bit each time. Now inside there, you're going to add kind of a wonky looking rectangle shape on the top. Now I have this space over here. I'm going to add a little curve there and a little one here to show the back side of my pumpkin. So there we have a nice lumpy bumpy pumpkin. And you can add the vines off the top, little curls. You can add a leaf, so make a U and then kind of like a W on the top there. That'll give you the look of a leaf. You can add the veins if you want. You don't want to get too detailed because we're going to be going over these lines on our finished one in glue. Okay? So let me show you how to do that. Now that we've got an idea of how to do a pumpkin, you can practice and you can do several different ones. You can make them big and small. Okay? And the more you do, the better you'll get. Now, you're going to get a black sheet of paper like this. And we're going to take I'm going to use white on camera so you can see it. But you'll still be using a pencil. I promise you'll be able to see the marks in pencil. So, actually, I'm going to try one. See if you can see it here. I'm going to do a big pumpkin. So I'm going to draw the middle of my pumpkin there. Yeah, you can kind of see it. Then I'm going to do my sections over here. And they don't have to be perfectly curved. See what I'm doing? You can be kind of lumpy and bumpy. Add my stem, back side of my pumpkin. I'm going to add a vine. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more. Alright, so yeah, I'm using regular pencil here. I'm going to do some smaller ones. So I'm going to do a little one here. And you can make them big. You can make them short and fat. As many little sections as you want. There's my top. Okay. And I'm going to do a third one down here because I want to balance out my image. Because I've only got two up here, but there's nothing in this space. So I'm going to do another one down here. I'm going to make it kind of big here. And see, I don't want to draw through the pumpkin I've already got. So I'm going to stop there. Okay. And add his stem, right? And a vine. Okay. Now, any extra space you have, I'm going to put a line back here, a horizon line, to show that our pumpkins are sitting on the ground. So now you have sky, and you have ground, and you have your pumpkins. So, once you've got the drawing done, you're going to take a bottle of glue, open it up, make sure, I'm going to squeeze it a little bit here. Hear that? Okay, so that means it's working. Shake it down to the tip first. And you might want to test it. So I'm going to test it on here to make sure it makes a nice clean line. Okay. Now I'm going to go over all of my pencil lines with glue. So I'm going to follow all those pencil lines that I did. I'm keeping the tip on the paper and just dragging it along. Don't get too much. When you get to the end, let go, okay? Don't keep squeezing. I'm going to squeeze, follow my pencil line. I'm going to stop and let go. I'm going to come back over here. I don't want to drag through the glue I've already got because I'll smear it, okay? Lift up off the paper a little bit there. And I'm going to come back. So, I'm going to do all of my pumpkins. All of my lines that I did, so like my vine I put there. I'm going to continue that and finish all of that. Okay, so now I want to show you one that's dry. Now you're going to finish these, put them in the drying rack to dry, or if you're at home, just lay it out on a table for an hour or two, let that glue dry. When it's all dry, it's going to look kind of like this. You can see the lines are black and clear, like this. So, in class, we'll have to wait a week, because this is not going to dry before then. If you're at home, you can wait a couple hours. Now, the next step is to color it with chalk. So I'm going to take a pause here in this video, and I'll come back with chalk and show you how to color it. But for day one, this is all you're going to do. Draw your pumpkins. Go over them in glue, all of the pencil lines, so that you've got your pumpkins, any horizon line area you've got, and any of the extra vines that you did. Okay, we're going to take a break and come back for day two. Okay, it's Mrs. Janie, I'm back. We're going to talk about how to color our pumpkins. And you can see the glue is all dry. You can see the shiny lines. And they're kind of like plastic on your paper now that they're dry. So in order to color these, let's take a look at our color wheel. Okay, so this is important because we want to make our pumpkins look shaded or shadowed and make them look more realistic. So let me give you a look at one that I'm currently working on. Okay, and you can see a little bit of a darker area here and a little bit of a highlight here. So we're going to have to layer these colors of chalk in order to make them look like that. So if you're going to do, I'm going to show you 3 different ways to color a pumpkin. So let's talk about a traditional orange pumpkin. In order to do the shadow right, you're going to have to use what we call a complementary color. So I have this arrow here on my color wheel, and it says complement. The complementary color is the opposite color on the wheel, so the one straight across from it. So if we put our arrow on orange, the color directly across from it is blue. So if we're going to make an orange pumpkin, we have to use blue for our shadow. And let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to set that up here. I'm going to do the one in the middle in the orange. So I'm going to have to use blue for my shadow. Do the shadows first. This is the first step. So the shadows are going to be the part away from the light. So that's going to be the bottom of your pumpkin because your sun's going to be above it. So I'm going to take some blue, follow the curvature of the pumpkin. I'm going to curve it up on the sides here, just a little. Don't color it really thick and heavy. Notice I'm not pressing really hard. I'm just lightly adding those blue shadows in there. Now, I can come back with my orange. Okay, it's a little dirty, so I'm going to wipe it off. Here's my orange. Now, I'm going to start at the top. Color this whole section. When I get down here, I'm going to color over my blue. And you'll see that the area where that blue was, okay, is darker down here than it is up here. So it's going to create that shadowed look. I'm going to do that to all of my sections on this pumpkin. Blend those colors together. And you can smooth it with your fingers if you like. Now we've done our shadow. That was the first step, the blue. The second step is your main color. And your last step is going to be your highlight. So, I typically use white. You could also use yellow on an orange pumpkin, and it'll look just as nice, okay? So now I'm going to take my white, and if the shadow is down here on the bottom, then the place where the sun hits the most is going to be the top, right? So up here, I'm going to do the same thing I did with the blue, but I'm going to do it on top of the orange, and I'm just going to curve it over on top. And that adds a little bit of highlight, or a shiny place where the sun is hitting. Or maybe it's nighttime and it's the moonlight. So now you have a nice shaded pumpkin that looks more three-dimensional because we've added those shadows and highlights. This is called value. You're changing the lightness and the darkness of the color. Okay, so that's one. Some pumpkins are yellow. Some pumpkins are white. I've seen white pumpkins, and they're pretty popular too. So, the opposite of, if we're going to do a yellow one, I'm going to do the yellow one probably over here on this side, okay? So, if I take my complementary color arrow and I put it on yellow, the opposite of yellow is purple or violet. So, if we want a yellow pumpkin, I need a purple for the shadow. So again, along the bottom, let me slide my paper up here. Along the bottom, curve up. Along the bottom here, add that shadow. Now, I can take my yellow, and again, start at the top, and cover over that purple, and you can blend it if you want to. It doesn't show quite as much with the yellow as it does with the orange, the shadowing area here. Now, got that. We're going to add our white on the top, our highlight, right? Where our moonlight is hitting the top. Okay, now our last one is going to be white. I'm going to do it over here. Now, I don't necessarily need my complementary color for this because the opposite of white is obviously black. I'm not going to do black though for my shadow. I'm going to use a gray. I've got a light gray here. So I'm going to add my gray along the bottom. Remember, not too heavy. And follow that curvature of that pumpkin. Make it look round. See how I'm making curved lines? Now I can take my white from the top, blend that gray in. So I'm going to start at the top, bright white, come down where that gray mixes in. It's going to make it look shadowed. Okay. Just like that. Now, for the highlight on this, I'm probably going to go back with a little bit of yellow for the highlight. Now you can color in the rest of it any way you want. I'm going to add brown for my stem. Do them all the same. Okay, maybe I want some brown on the ground here. Kind of show that they're sitting in a pumpkin patch, right? Make it dark under our pumpkins here. Make it kind of round. See how I'm going in circles? Because these would be round, they're round pumpkins or round organic shapes. So the shadow might be more rounded. Now I'm going to take a green and I'm going to put it on its side and kind of blend over top. And the great thing about this chalk is it looks really neat on this black paper. And those black lines from your glue stay black. It almost makes it look like stained glass. So I'm going to blend this just a little, barely brushing over the chalk. Okay, I need some green up here, all the way up to where the horizon line is. Okay, blend that in. Now I'm going to flip this around so I can reach it better. And I'm going to do my sky next. So I'm going to put in some blues and purples. So there's some blue. I'm going to mix in some purple here. Notice I'm not filling it in solid. I'm not pressing down really hard with the chalk. I'm just lightly filling in these spaces. Now I can take my fingers and fill it in. Blend those colors together so it looks really soft. Like it's kind of foggy or misty at night. This is a really great fall or Halloween project to do. You could even take your white after you're done and make yourself a nice full moon. If you don't want a white one, you could even go back and add some yellow on it. There's my moon. And you never want to blow the chalk. You want to lay it or bring it over a trash can. So I've got a trash bucket here. So I've got one of our trash buckets. Okay. I'm going to kind of curve your paper and kind of shake it down into the trash bucket. Get that loose chalk off. That way it doesn't get up in the air, okay? We don't want to make anybody sick. Get the chalk in their lungs. Okay. So, now this one's finished. Isn't that cool? Isn't that beautiful? And it's a really simple project. Good practice for value and how to shade and add highlights. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have fun with this. Be creative. And I can't wait to see the pumpkins that you create. Happy art making.